Keeping It Real, the show where we watch the scary movies so you don't have to. I'm Michelle, and this week I am joined by
Alex.
And we watched the movie It Follows. If you have not seen this movie, we're going to be spoiling a lot of it, pretty much the entire movie. When you see the creepy eyeball, that means we are not saying any more spoilers, so it is safe to listen if you would choose to do so. So tell us about the movie.
So It Follows. It's about young love, let's be honest. A young lady by the name of Jay Height. She's on a date with another young gentleman. And as not most, but some people do, their intimacy reaches a new level, they have sex. What happens is that immediately after, this might be a trigger, so it's a little gnarly, the gentleman, not much of a gentleman, chloroforms our protagonist, Jay, and ties her up to a chair somewhere in this desolate area, and basically tells her that he's transmitted this, I could just call it a curse. I think it's a curse.
Yeah.
Where this is the creature of the movie. A person that walks towards you and kills you, just in dramatic, disgusting fashion, gory fashion, and they look different every single time you see it. And it's only after Jay. Once it kills Jay, it moves on to the guy, then it moves on to the lady or man that the guy had sex with, just down the line. Mm-hmm. So it's an allegory for STDs or a romantic escapade that you regret, something like that. Now, that's the concept of it. And in the movie, she realizes that it's real. At first, she never believed it, but it just chases after her, and she flees the scene several times. Her friends don't believe her until they witness it, breaking stuff, grabbing her hair, and just throwing her around, breaking doors, and eventually she passes it on to a friend of hers. His name is Greg. Pass it on to Greg, who then dies because he didn't take it seriously.
Horrific fashion,
yeah. and then until the very end, where they trap it in a swimming pool. She was in a swimming pool, used as bait, yes. And the monster came around. But anyways, lots of effective scares, like really traumatic premise, if I could say that. It's problematic for some, if I could imagine. It could be a trigger for a lot of people, but yeah, I think that's pretty well a summary of it. Yeah,
and the final scene, it pretty much leaves it up to your interpretation of whether she was freed of this curse or not.
Yes.
So that kind of leaves you feeling a little uneasy. So this movie for me honestly stressed me out immensely. The idea that the creature, the entity, is just always after you. It's just a slow burn, literally just wandering down the street after you. And the moment you forget or you sleep or you just have to calm down for a second, that's when it'll really get you. And the concept of that really just stressed me out. So I was a little bit nervous after this movie, and I had to watch something really funny afterwards, and it affected me.
It is like a nightmare that something out of your control. You can't do anything about it. Kind of like running in a dream. You want to go faster. You want to get away from it. You want this thing to stop coming after you. So I could see how brutal it could be.
Yeah.
Just to think about it.
It was intense. I would say from a scare standpoint, it was really interesting because there was one or two jump scares. I would say the jump scares themselves weren't really the effective scares or the really way the movie was scary. I would say it was really just that sense of dread and that constant looking behind your shoulder feeling is what really made this movie scary for me.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the new Resident Evil games where they've traded in the lots of jump scares for just these, quiet moments until you bump into this creature and the creature appears and there's just no way around it. You can't stop it.
The creature itself in this movie was really interesting to me in the sense that when it was initially explained by Greg, so the guy, or not Greg, Hugh? I forget what was his real name and his fake name. He had two names.
Hugh. It was, right, Hugh / Jeff. Yes.
Jeff, there you go.
Yeah.
When Hugh infected Jay, he explained to her, it's always going to look like someone you know. Like he explicitly says that to her, and then throughout the entire movie until the final scene, it is nobody that looks like anyone she knows. It's like the scary naked lady, and then it's like an old woman, and then the super
really
tall dude.
guy.
Which, like, honestly, of all the scenes in that movie, that one got me. Like, that one that was my favorite scene. It was freaking terrifying to me. He just, like, the small hallway and, like, the visual of her friend standing there and then this entity behind her friend that no one else can see, like, really, like, that was so impactful.
That was a funny scene where you would think he would shove her out of the way, right?
Yeah.
But he just waited his turn to step inside.
And her friend just kept standing there. I wonder, like, what would happen if eventually he'd be like, hey, can you move? Like, I need to get in.
Please.
Like, I don't know.
She jumped out of a window. Spoilers,
Yeah,
This is a smart thing to do.
I mean, I will say to her credit, she did really, like, she tried. Yeah. She ran. She, like, just stole a car and dipped. She was, like, jumped out a window, got on a bicycle, just, like, took off. I do kind of like that because a lot of the time they'll think, no, I'm going to like protect myself in a room and then die. Yeah. And I was kind of expecting that to happen, but it obviously didn't.
She did do the whole horror movie trope of sees a monster, goes upstairs.
Yes.
Right, which is always a mistake. That's right. Yeah, she jumped out the window. Nobody ever does that with Jason Voorhees, but
but she did try.
Yeah, she did her best, and that one part where she takes a car and crashes, that might have been my least favorite part. Yeah. Because that means you're waiting on an ambulance, and that's a lot of stationary time with this monster after you. She probably should have died there.
I think she should have died either right there or when she was in the hospital, because it was kind of unclear how much time had passed between her getting into the accident and ending up in the hospital with a broken arm. So I'm like, you could have literally been in the field in the ambulance being carted in and just this thing's walking after you, because I'm assuming that they weren't so far away from a hospital that the thing couldn't walk there in that time. Yeah. It was a little unclear. And then she just decided, you know what, like, let's have sex in the hospital, because that just was a solid
As one
choice.
does, right?
Because, you know, no place sexier than a hospital. I mean, like, if you're going to die, I get it. I would say for me, like, the least scary part of the movie was also the most scary part. So the thing that follows you, the fact that for her it looked like so many different people was really good, and then also really bad. So for me, like, when it looked like the old lady and the first time we really see her interact with it, that scene went on so long, and I was like, it's an old woman in a hospital gown. Like, I'm not really threatened by the physical nature of this being. And then, like, later on when they're leaving her house and then it's just naked on the roof. Like, there was a lot of nudity that was just, like, jarring in this movie. And I get it because with, like, the sexual references, like the STD kind of thing. And, like, there was a lot of kind of, like, references to potential, like, sexual assault and that sort of thing. Because I think one of the ghost visions was someone who just got sexually assaulted. Like, that's exactly what it looked like. That was really jarring. But, like, the naked dude on the roof just chilling was so strange. Like, I couldn't not laugh at that. I thought that was ridiculous.
I thought that was one of the creepiest parts of the movie. Like, how did this motherfucker on that roof?
Okay, this dude is taking so long to walk after you, but he's just gonna, like, mess around, take the time to climb up onto the roof to do what? Like, this being seems to be constrained by the real world. Like, it couldn't get through a locked door. So it's gonna climb on a roof and then like swing into the window. Like, I don't understand what that was supposed to be. It just raised so many questions for me. I was just cackling when I saw that part.
Now, the monster is susceptible to injury because the monster's been shot a few times and has reacted to the shootings, like right in the head, just drops down, but gets up again, and up until the ending where he just gets got in the swimming pool, right? Huge pool of blood. You never know if it
I'm not
died
confident.
or not.
Like, I'm really not confident they stopped it. Just in, like, the nature of the film of, like, it can be slowed, but it cannot be stopped is really what it felt like. So when she first shoots it, she hits it in the neck, I think it is, and it falls over. And you're like, oh, great. Maybe 10 seconds later, it gets up. The thing that was really weird as well, like, I think in those types of movies where it's like a ghost or an entity, you're used to it, like, getting mad or, like, having some type of reaction to like being thwarted. This thing just, like, was so consistent in just how it moved and how it reacted. And I hated how like not human it was. Like it really had no humanity to it.
It did interact with a few people, like Jay's love interest, the nerdy love interest, where he tried to do something and the invisible hand just throws him away. Yeah. And he does end up shooting the monster eventually in the end, and who knows? It might be a lot. We're still waiting on a sequel because the movie came out in 2014. You never know. There's still time.
Everything's getting a sequel.
Everything gets a sequel.
It follows more.
Yes.
What would you say? Like, was there a part that really stood out to you as being like scary or like visually impactful at all? Besides the naked roof.
I know. No, you know what? There were a lot of effective scares, but they were just when the creature staring at her, right? Like that got me the most. There was one jump scare that was pretty surprising the first time I watched the movie. That was the little boy with the darkened eyes that pops out of this hole in the garage. Yeah, that one got me the first time because it wasn't relying too heavily on the jump scares. Yeah, and that's the one. They got me right here, guys.
Okay, well, that's pretty much, I think, all we have to say about this movie. So going into it, out of 5, I would probably rate it like a 4 out of 5. I probably wouldn't watch this movie again just because of how much it did stress me out, but the fact that it had that effect on me means that, to me, it was a really good movie. It was really different. Visually, it was really beautiful. Like, I thought it was actually a really well shot movie. The acting wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen with like a young cast, I guess, would be the thing that I'd be concerned about going into it. So yeah, I give it a 4 out of 5. And it's mildly scary, like depending on your triggers. I think it could be really, really scary for some people and like actually a little too traumatizing if like sexual violence is a thing that really sets you off. Probably don't watch this movie.
I would also give it a 4 condoms out of 5. Right? And it was great. It was one of those movies that sticks with you. The symbolism in it, it's really strong, really effective. You can't stop thinking about what would I do if I were in that situation. If I'm at home, do I jump out the window? Yes, you jump out the window. And there's a lot of role playing in that. But yeah, definite triggers. Careful with that movie if you're sensitive to that. Yeah.
Well, this has been Creepin' It Real. Definitely make sure you check us out at all of our social media. I'm Michelle.
I'm Alex.
Thank you so much for watching. Bye.